What's the difference between a recession and a depression? A recession is when your neighbor loses a job, and a depression is when you lose your job. This week we talk about leadership. A new president was sworn in, and we pray and hope that our new president has the strength and the wisdom and the courage to lead our country based on our founding fathers and kindness and caring and liberty. And everyone wishes for that. And everyone should pray for that. How do you define a great leader? How do you define what real leadership is about? We're reading in this week's Torah portion two different leaders. One, Pharaoh, and the other one, Moses. Plus, this week's Shabbos is a very special Shabbos. 70 years ago, on the 10th day of Shvat, which is this Shabbos, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, the leader of world jury of our generation, became the new Rebbe after his father-in-law passed away. And every single person that's listening to me right now was impacted by this day that happened 70 years ago. So how do we define leadership? Let's look at Pharaoh. Pharaoh was the king of the world. How do we define great leadership? Pharaoh was the king of the world. And Moses came to Pharaoh and told Pharaoh, let the Jewish people out. Did he care about his nation? No. He allowed them to go through all the plagues of blood and frogs and wild animals and so many other plagues, and they suffered. He didn't care about his people. Only when it came to the death of the firstborn, when he knew that his life is at stake, did he go and he say, you know what, let the Jewish people go. I want the Jewish people to leave. Someone once asked, there was a rabbi talking to a group of students from Germany. He said, tell me, what do you think of Hitler? He said, Hitler Yamach Shemai was a terrible person. He killed so many people all over the world. He said, you as a German, I can tell you, the worst thing he did for you guys, he didn't care about you guys. He cared more about killing Jews than you people. So Pharaoh didn't care about his people. While they were suffering, he could care less. Only when he was worried about him getting killed, that's when he said, That's what kind of leader Pharaoh was. That's the kind of leaders we want to stay away from. People that care only about themselves and they don't care about people. Let's look at Moses. Moses was minding his own business, was a shepherd of sheep, and living a calm, tranquil life. And God says, go to Egypt and get the Jewish people out. And he knew that going to Egypt, he's going to put his life in danger. But God told him, I'm choosing you to lead the people, and he put his own life in danger. And then we know throughout Moses' life, when God was upset at the Jewish people after the sin of the golden calf, and God said, you know what? I'm going to wipe out the Jewish people and start a new nation from you. Another person will say, that's great. It'll be even more credit to myself. I'll be the big hero. Now all the people are coming for me. And Moses said, no. If you're going to wipe out the Jewish people, take my name out of the Torah. Moses cared about the Jewish people more than he cared about himself. That's what true leadership is about. Caring about the people that you represent. There's a book called From Good to Great. I read the book, I only remember one point. I remember the point they wrote is they did what's the common denominator of great leaders of different companies. Said the common denominator, they were humble people. Meaning, although they led the company, but they knew it wasn't about them. It was about the people. The same exact thing we saw about the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Lubavitcher Rebbe was born in Russia in 1902. Lived under communism. Life was in danger all the time. His father was actually put into prison and died because of it. The Rebbe's father. And he lived under communism. In the last moment they were able to get out of Russia in 1927 when they wanted to kill his father-in-law. And then he went to Poland. And then the Rebbe lived under Nazism in France. And the last moment with the last ships he made it to America. Just imagine, just think about this. It's 1951. His father-in-law passed away and they're asking him to take over leadership. This is a person that for 50 years of his life lived under the threat that if you're a Jew, your life is in danger. And you will be killed, and millions of people actually got killed. That's what happened. And then he has to take over leadership. And he can say, you know what? For my safety, I'm not going to do it. Even for the safety of the Jewish people, let's forget about it. It didn't work out the last 50 years, let's forget about it. But the Rebbe at his first talk, the inauguration speech, So a lot of times politicians, whoever maybe gives this great talk, and then you look years later, did he follow through what he said? What was the Rebbe's first talk? The Rebbe's first talk was talking about what kind of beautiful world this is. Just imagine what kind of beautiful world this was. He just saw the greatest destruction. But the Rebbe saw the potential in the world. He said, what kind of beautiful world this is. And we have to bring godliness into this world. Through what? Through Avos Yisrael. Through loving another person. And caring. And he said different stories how different Rebbes had showed tremendous love, not just by talk, in action. And then let's look what happened over 70 years. The next 70 years, we see the transformation of the Jewish world. There's no place in the world where there isn't a Chabad center, a Chabad representative. And it wasn't about because he's sending people out in order for the Chabad rabbis to send money back to Crown Heights, in order to build up his synagogue. On the contrary, if you went to the Rebbe's synagogue, it was the simplest synagogue. It was all about, because the Rebbe as a leader cared about every single Jew. Not only cared about every Jew, he cared about every single person. And that's why there are thousands and thousands of Chabad rabbis all over the world for one reason. Because of the Rebbe's love and care for every person. And he said, you know what, we can't just rely on Jews living in Brooklyn or Jews living in Los Angeles, Jews living in Israel. There are many, many Jews, because of different reasons, moved to different parts of the country where there is no Jewish infrastructure. You need to go out there and you need to inspire them and find them. And don't wait for them to come to you. You go to them. Why? Because we care about them and we love them and we want to inspire them and we want to make ourselves available for them. And not only in communities, it could be in hospitals. Not only hospitals, in prisons. Wherever there is a Jew, we need to be there. And not only for the Jewish people, but for the whole community. To inspire them to go in the way of God. Help them in a time of need. Help them in physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. That's true leadership. Leadership is a person that really is there and cares about every individual. And that's what the Rebbe did. How did the Rebbe do it? Through his genuine, selfless dedication and love for every single person. You know, after the Rebbe had a heart attack in 1978, so the secretary said, you know, you get thousands of letters on a weekly basis, maybe we should open it up, read it for you, and then give you only certain letters. Get a machine to open up the letters for you. The Rebbe said here, when the people who wrote letters to me with broken hearts, and they closed the envelopes with tears in their eyes, from tears, should I allow someone else to open it up? I want to be there with them, to lift them up and to be there for them. But how did the Rebbe do it? Because the Rebbe taught each one of his Hasidim, his followers, that each one of us have a potential to be a leader and to inspire other people. You know, some leaders just want to be a leader and everyone else just follow them. The late Jonathan Sachs shared something so beautiful, and he said, he's been around a lot of great leaders. When you're around them, you know how great they are. But when you're around the Lubavitcher Rebbe, he taught you how great you are. And that's what the Rebbe did to our generation. Not only the Rebbe's dedication and love and care about every single person, his Avos Yisrael, tirelessly, never took one day vacation, but also the Rebbe inspired a generation that each one of you need to be leaders yourself in your world. Not just Chabad rabbis of the Bid and the Yarmulke and the Chabad and the Rebbitzins. But every single one who's watching this video now knows, and you're still on this video, even though we're 8 minutes, almost 9 minutes into this video, knows that you need to be a leader in your family. Every time the Rebbe would meet someone, no matter what, they were a journalist, a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, whoever it may be, the Rebbe would always inspire them in your field, in your home, in your community. You should be a leader of inspiration, of holiness and godliness. We each have to be this. So on the Shabbos, when we read about Moses and the negative Pharaoh, and this Shabbos when we're celebrating 70 years of the Rebbe's leadership, tireless leadership, let's rededicate ourselves, that each one of us should have faith in ourselves. If God put us in the world, we can inspire other people. We need to inspire other people through love and caring and inspiration. And the Rebbe always said, just take upon yourself one mitzvah, one good deed, one act of kindness, one mitzvah of God. We will make the world a holier and godlier place. Let's this weekend all take upon ourselves one mitzvah and one person that we're going to reach out to, inspire them through love and care. Shabbat Shalom.